Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over my how to win with Hearthkyn Salvager Kill Team guide. But before getting into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Do you agree, disagree? Do you like what I said? Anything I missed? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, as well as an affiliate link at Element Games and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, let's get on with the video. So in this video, I'll be going over basically how to win with the Hearthkyn Salvager Kill Team, going over them in depth, slightly different from my review, but based on, you know, my experience speaking to top players and also winning tournaments, well, a tournament with them myself and doing pretty well with them competitively. So at least it has some kind of basis for experience. But who are the Hearthkyn Salvagers? They are the Leagues of Votann in Kill Team. So they are basically space dwarfs, squads, you know. They're a 10 operative kill team, so effectively the average size of a kill team, and they are a bespoke team that was released near the end of Season 2. Technically at the end, but not fully at the end. The last box of the season, then Ashes of Faith. For a more in-depth review, check out my review video, as I'll be able to go over each, you know, individual ploy, rule, operative, whereas this is more like a holistic view to try and give you a more concise guide. So what are the Hearthkyn Salvager strengths? So all operatives are now 8 wounds with a 3-up save, as per the latest balanced data slate from February. You know, we're recording in February, so everyone's actually surprisingly durable, and 3-up saves are great. They all have grudge, well, you have grudge tokens as your faction mechanic, which basically for every grudge token your opponent has, you can turn one hit into a crit, which gets very deadly as the game goes on and allows the kill team to do surprisingly a large amount of damage. They're very powerful shooting as a shooting kill team. They have lots of high power, high even like fire rate of guns, because they're mainly a shooting kill team. They are oddly decent in melee, right? Thanks to partly being able to spec into plasma knives, which are now 2 equipment points, giving you 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, 3/5 with lethal 5-up. So you can suddenly have a lot of high power melee operatives out of nowhere. You have good mobility tools and tricks. So I'm not saying they have great base movement, but they have lots of tricks ranging from like climbing gear, you know, ways to work around their short movement, which is really, really good. They have great equipment, like they have really good equipment. You can give your leader and everyone within 3 inches of 4-up invuln. You know, you can get climbing gear on everyone. You can make, for 1 equipment point, your gunners ignore weapon skill, well, ballistic skill modifiers, so they can fire a normal ballistic skill. You know, you have excavation tools, you have a lot of great equipment, and you have access to reliable accuracy modifiers. Now this ranges from your attack order, giving you effectively balanced where depending on where you're shooting, as well as proximate firepower. So as long as you're within 6 inches of the target, so red, you get +1 to your ballistic skill. You can stop certain forward deploys and scouting phase movement. Now this comes down to the locator, but it actually stops people being able to do the recon dash, which is huge, as well as all like scouting phase based movements, and stops 2 out of 4 forward deploys, which is really, really good. It effectively forces people to kind of play to your movement game, because you can recon dash while they can't. So very good. They destroy elite teams. I think elite teams, while they do hate Kazakin, Hearthkyn Salvagers just dismantle elites. It's not even like close to being fair. And then they have what I like to call the 10-inch bad touch range. Now with certain ploys like the Ancestors Are Watching and like being free APL, which I could get into later, being able to move 5 inches, dash 3 inches. So as long as you can get within 10 inches of someone, you can shoot them. And that is quite a huge threat range, which catches a lot of people off guard, because they will, like, you will technically, as long as you can end a turning point within 10 inches of someone, you win initiative and then move and dash and then just shoot them off. The kill team can do this so well, it catches people off guard, because they will just go like, oh, you're only 5 inches, what are you going to do? And people will generally forget that as long as you get within 2 inches, you can just shoot someone. So like this kill team excels at doing that. For the Hearthkyn Salvager weaknesses, their movement is very slow, even with the faction rule change. So they were originally 4-inch movement base, 2 white. They now, every time they do a normal move, they get plus black to their movement. So they effectively move 5 inches, which is good, right? And they do have climbing gear. So effectively places you need to climb, They only need to spend 1 white to get up, but they are very slow regardless. And not even on like vertical boards. On boards with lots of stuff they need to traverse or move around to get like a non-discounted movement, struggles a lot. Also, your baseline ballistic skill is 4 up. So while you are shooting kill team, if you don't have, like, if you're shooting where you don't have your attack order or you don't have proximate firepower up, you kind of struggle, which is really weird as a shooting kill team. Like, obviously it was done for balance reasons, but it can be very shocking for when you just go like, oh, I just need to hit on whole 4s. This can't be horrible. And then you just whiff. It's painful. They are quite weak turning point 1 and turning point 2. So this kill team is more of a late game kill team. So like they really excel at when the opponent has lots of grudge tokens, because you can start applying grudge tokens, you know, from the strategic phase, but you don't, if you haven't set up enough, like generally turning point 1 and 2, you only have 1 to 2 grudge tokens in play. And once you don't have them, when you have them up, you're like a killing machine, but without them, you're kind of just bouncing off. So you oddly have to play quite defensively. They can be still quickly overwhelmed in melee. So like if you're charged by anyone who is base 4 damage, they're going to kill you in 2 hits, regardless of how many crits you get with your plasma knives or other melee weapons. So there's something to be in mind. And anyone without plasma knives just gets assaulted, like brutalized in combat. They are only effective in the mid-range and oddly struggle at long-range shooting. As I mentioned, most of your ploys benefit from when you're attacking within red, and like when you're in this weird range where you're just outside of red from someone, you're oddly not that powerful in shooting. You're just relying on rolling hot, which means even though you are a ranged kill team, you don't actually fully benefit from being a long-range kill team, like the benefits of being a shooting kill team. So you have to fight within this sweet spot of just being able to move within 6 inches of your opponent to shoot, which can be quite weird to get used to. You struggle into horde teams because, once again, you're very limited at doing 2-for-1 trades. Now, this is the ability to kill 2 operatives with either a single operative or 2 of your own operatives during a single activation, because you have no access to group activation, and even your free APL models are still quite slow, so it's quite difficult, and especially into horde teams, you can get quickly outnumbered and overwhelmed. Faction tac ops are all right. Like generally, you're going to go with like settle grudges for your faction tac op, but even that has the problem where if you don't kill anyone for 2 turns, you won't max it, so it can be quite weird. You're also very dense rules wise. Remember, you have to keep in track of the grudge tokens, your faction ability about your movement, all your ploys. Every operative effectively has their own unique abilities. Remembering when to allocate grudge tokens and how many grudge tokens someone has, it's and like, you know, staying within the right ranges, it's very rules dense, so you can get quite quickly overwhelmed, and especially forget stuff if you're trying to like play fast, which can be a problem. They have too many good operatives. Like one big weakness of this team is like they probably want to be an 11 operative team, but then they would be broken. But you are ideally always running 9 operatives, and then you're just like juggling between 3 operatives to take, which can be quite painful. And the locator only works against half of the team with 4 deploys. So because he only stops people that set up during like deployment, he has no effect on stuff that's outside of this. So the weird thing, he stops the Pathfinder and Commando forward deploys, but he doesn't stop the Wormblade forward deploys or the Hierotech Circle forward deploy, which just feels mechanically weird. It really should work against all of that, but you know, it's like stop forward movement and then only works half of the time. It's just a very weird rules interaction, which doesn't seem to be working as intended and can be quite confusing, because he also shuts down scouting phase movement, so works on things like grav shoots and stuff, so it's just very strange. For your key operatives, we have the leader with plasma sword. You can take him with the plasma axe, but ideally you're taking him with the plasma sword. Like the best loadout is either a leader with ion blaster and plasma sword, or leader with bolt gun and plasma sword. Like he's just so good because he hits on 3s naturally, and when you've got like proximate firepower up, he's hitting on 2s. He's a great source for being free APL, because you know your leader can charge someone with that plasma sword. It's only 4 attacks hitting on 3s, but it's a power weapon. Then you kill someone, then you shoot someone. Really, really good. And remember, he helps give grudge tokens faster, because as per the balanced data slate, you can give 1 grudge token a turn, 2 if you've lost 3 or more operatives. while your leader is alive in the strategic phase, which is really good. You have your free gunners. They are effectively very, very important. They do most of the work for your kill team. You've got a huge selection. Like, I actually have all the gunners you can take, because generally you want to swap out, but always you're taking like usually the plasma beamer and the missile launcher. Then depending on the opponent, you're taking the high las rotary or the rail gun, but you can even make use of like the bullpup gun, which is quite good into horde. He has like an 86% chance to kill someone on 7 wounds with a 5-up save if you have 1 grudge token. So they all have a use. Your jump pack warrior is essential. Like, they can either like they actually excel at securing the board for you and stealing objectives and securing tac ops, but you can also play quite offensively to do like precision assassination kills. So like turning point 1, you can like jet boost 12 inches in a straight line onto like a vantage point to secure your like recover item or something. And then because he actually has base movement of 6, so he's your fastest operative with fly, he can do something like with the ancestor watching off 3rd APL charge. His plasma axe is 5/5 hitting on freeze and gets brutal on the charge, so you can just quickly YOLO charge into someone, kill them, and then shoot someone with a bolt pistol that hits on freeze with ceaseless if you've got proximate firepower up. So he can be like very useful. Like, oddly, you kind of want to keep him alive. The longer he lives, the more likely you are going to win. And the problem is when he does go down, you suddenly lose all this threat. And there's a huge tendency to use the jump pack warrior as like turning point 2. He does this suicide charge, but it's much better to actually have the threat of him that your opponent needs to worry about and just have him playing harassment, stealing objectives, maybe killing the odd lone operative, but not going for like suicide kills. Then you've got your Cognitar. This is really essential. During your strategic phase, it can place the attack or defense order. So the attack order is if you place a token, enemy operatives within 3 inches, when you shoot at them, you gain balanced on your guns. And then you've got a defense order. You place the token, for any operatives within blue of it, get balanced when being shot at. You know, you get to reroll the defense dice. The cool thing is, as long as you have placed it as in the strategic phase, you can redeploy it as an action point. But it's really good, like using the defensive token if you feel like you're going to get shot at the start of the turning point, or using the attack order to either ensure an alpha strike of your own or pressure the board of the opponent off a key point of the board. Very, very always need. Then you got your Grenadier. So your Grenadier has basically the 4-inch super crack from the breaches, but slightly worse. So it's a 4-inch grenade, 1 use only, 4/6 AP1 blast black. So it has got a reduced range and blast zone. But the cool thing is you can get within 2 inches of someone, blast someone, and not be hit by your own blast. He also comes with, you know, his 2/4 frag grenade, which is really good. And then he has a utility grenade, one which reduces movement as an action by 2 for enemy operatives within, like, if they get within white of the, like, your marker you put down blue. Then you can make a point +1 to do mission actions and to secure, which is really good. Or you give their guns like the limited range of 6 special rule, so they go from infinite range to 6 inches. It's a really unique piece. He also gets a 4-up damage prevention roll, so DPR, against anything with the blast or splash rule, so he can oddly be quite surviving, or like area of effect. So he's really, really key. A general, like the key thing is if you give him proximate fire, if you play proximate firepower, he's hitting on 2s, and if you're targeting someone with like 2 or more grudge tokens, he just blows them away. So really important. And probably one of your main targets for either the ancestors are watching or having free APL. Then you've got your Kinlink, which is your comms. Like, you really need the comms. It's more essential than in other teams, because just letting you do those free APL moves to like move dash shoot or charge shoot, charge fight shoot, like incredibly essential. He also has a delay move, so you pick someone with your line of sight, you give them a jamming token. They can't activate until all their other friendly operatives have activated. So if you pick someone that's activated during that turning point, they have to basically wait until the end of the next turning point to activate, so you can just paralyze people. So very, very good. Then you've got your Lugger. I thought about dropping the Lugger like when you're playing capture, but he's just essential. He gives you 5 extra equipment points, and also he can do mission actions for 1 AP less, which is a mission action, which is really cool. He can also re-equip like one of your gunners or your leader for an action point if they're within black, but the main reason you take him is for the extra equipment points and being able to do a mission action for 1 AP less, like really key. But these are the key operatives I would always take. Like, that's why I feel just operatives you always need to include in your kill team. So for how to collect, you will effectively need 2 boxes of Hearthkyn Salvagers to get a full kill team, right? It's unfortunate, but entirely necessary. So the way you could get around this is by buying 1 box of Hearthkyn Salvager and then 1 box of normal Hearthkyn Warriors. So that way you can save yourself a bit of money. But you can also get away with, like, at a really big push, buying a single box of Hearthkyn Salvager and then like a squad of like 5 normal Hearthkyn models, like either from eBay or something. If you want all the options, because you have like 13 operatives in rotation at least, you kind of want 2 boxes. It's annoying, but at least it's only capped at 2. So that's all you need for if you want to build a full competitive kill team for Hearthkyn Salvager. So for Hearthkyn Salvager tactics, it's effectively moving up the board turning point 1 to set up multiple turning point 2 on onward strikes. You ideally want to be in a position where you're within 10-inch range of bad touching your opponent. So being able to reach within 2 inches of someone by moving and dashing or even moving. Obviously, if you can set up a charge, fight, shoot, that's good. But you have to remember, with that kind of threat range, you're in range of being bad touched yourself, so be very careful with that. But you really need to set up multiple threats, just so it's like your opponent has to be on their toes. Then either using the Kin Link or the Ancestors Are Watching to set up 2 free APL strikes for a single turning point or for the next. So what you can do it turning point 1, but what I generally like to, unless my opponent has like heavily mispositioned, is to, give someone who's activated +1 APL. So in the next turning point, they're free APL. So that means, like, if I did it turning point 1, turning point 2, I can have 2 free APL models and the Ancestors Are Watching. So I'll have 3 models that can do some crazy things. But remember, you can also use the Ancestors Are Watching on someone free APL. So you could like charge, fight, shoot, cap the point, or move, open the door, dash, shoot, like on Into the Dark. It's very, very powerful. And you ideally want to be able to be in a position where you're setting up 2 of those a turning point. So very key to remember. So excavation tools on barricades set up safe staging points for you to punish from. This is actually a neat trick I picked up from Alden in New York. But effectively, you take 3 excavation tools. So that's your equipment, part of your equipment anyway. And then you can pick any 3 barricades that are more than red from your opponent's drop zone. So including your opponent's barricades. You put your excavation tool on any terrain with the traversable rule. And as long as your operatives move within black of that token, you ignore that movement for like traversing. So you just walk through it for free. So what you can actually do is have barricades. You can barricade block parts of the board that you can move through for free, which is amazing. But also you can use barricades as sudden staging points to just move through. Because even though you tell people, they'll just kind of go like, oh, you just buy a barricade because it's force of habit. And then you can just suddenly like surprise Space Dwarf. But it also works on parts of the boards, like on very dense boards, like as long as it's traversable, you can place a token there and move through. Very, very cool. But my main use of it is using it on barricades, even on opponents' barricades on Into the Dark if they place them too far forward, which really freaks out opponents. It's crazy. Then using the leader's ability to get grudge tokens on key enemy operatives early. Obviously, like now the leader's ability is you pick an enemy operative in the strategic phase, you give them a grudge token. If you've lost 3 or more operatives, you can select 2 different opponents to get grudge tokens. So you can, like, ideally you've set up 2 grudge tokens by the start of turning point 2, because if you're somehow, if you've somehow lost 3 operatives turning point 1, you're in a bad position. You can use your leader's ability to punish your stuff for your opponent wants to alpha strike with. You can like, okay, yeah, this operative is going to get close turning point 1, but if they do go for that alpha strike, I'll be able to kill them back, which can change a lot of dynamics quite quickly. It's really good doing it on operatives that have to get close for stuff like, grenadiers, melee operatives, like melter guns. So you can use it for a lot of psychological mind games. You can apply a lot of board control pressure with the Jump Pack Warrior. As I said, remember with that 12-inch boost, also giving them like free APL. So you can boost, cap the point, or with the Ancestor Watching, like boost, cap the point, shoot. You can do a lot of things. And as I said, you do get tempted to throw them away, like into doing suicide charges. But the key strength of the Jump Pack Warrior is just applying board control pressure, securing attack ops, stealing objectives from your opponent, just being a nuisance that they are difficult to catch. So just remembering that. Using the attack order for offensive pressure or defense order to counteract the opponent's first activation strikes. So as I said, remember, you always want to place it, like the attack or defense order in the strategic phase, so you can redeploy it. It just applies a lot of mind games. Like if you're going first, you can go, cool, those operatives are going to die. You can like guarantee your own alpha strikes. And if you know you're playing a shooting opponent, if they've won initiative, you can go, cool, you can get a first turn shot off on these people, but they're going to have a free up save with a reroll. Really, really good. Then you've got combining the above 2 so that you have 2 2 free strategic phase stalls before having to play ploys. Because sometimes you'll be in situations, especially turning point 2, where your opponent is waiting to see what you can play, because they'll have like 1 to 3 ploys they want to play, usually 1 to 2, but you can go like, I'm going first, I'm going to give them a grudge token. They're like, are you going to do anything? And then they go, oh, I guess I'll pass. And then they're like, cool, I'll place my attack order here. Are you going to do anything? It's like, yeah, I guess I'll play my ploy now. It's like, cool, now I'll play like the 1 to 3 ploys I want to play. So you can use that to like see where your opponent is going to do their key ploys. But the other thing is you can also use it in reverse. So if your opponent's waiting to see, okay, which ploy do I need to pop first to play defensively, you can go like, cool, I'm going to play proximate firepower, and then I'm going to do this, so I'm like 3 AP along the point. Are you going to do anything? It's like, no, okay, I'm going to put my grudge token here. Are you going to do anything? It's like, no, I'll put my attack order here. And like, you can like stall them out. So if they're waiting to see where you're playing attack order before playing your ploys, you can mind game them to get the grudge token phase. And then they go like, are you going to play anything? And they go, no. You can just end by passing as well to lock them out of ploys. So you get a lot of mind games in the strategic phase, which is really powerful. Then you get to use grudge tokens to annihilate enemy operatives, because anyone with like 3 to 4 grudge tokens is effectively dead against this kill team. Because remember, an operative could have like theoretically up to 20 grudge tokens. You know, you're in this weird situation where the moment someone gets 3 to 4 grudge tokens, and you're in a situation like you're usually in a position to get 3 to 4 hits on them, they're just dead. Like an elite space marine with 3 or 4 grudge tokens against any of your heavy weapons is just dead. There's not really anything anyone can really do. And it's kind of crazy reliable to set up, especially when you feed your opponent operatives that you want to lose anyway. Well, not that you want to lose, that you can afford to lose. So they go, oh, cool, I'm going to kill your lugger on the point. It's like, okay, cool. So now you have like 3 grudge tokens. You die. It's crazy. And then your other tactics is you can basically give your general operatives 2 weapons. You get ion blasters, which are free for P1, or bolt guns, which are free for ceaseless. And generally you want ions, because remember, they stack really, really well with grudge tokens, because with P1 it effectively makes them free for AP1 guns. Really, really good. And then you kind of want the bolt guns mainly just against invons, because that's where the ions don't really do much. You can kind of argue they might be good into like teams like Vet Guard, but I personally prefer the ions because you want to win the shooting matchup. You don't want to give them a chance to save on a 5-up. But those are the general tactics for the kill team. So for your hard/bad matchups, because everything not covered here is either a even or good matchup. Inquisitorial Agent is probably the worst matchup in the game. They can shut down proximate firepower. The ancestors are watching. It's a horrible, horrible matchup. They have so many bodies. Like the main tactic is you play the ancestors are watching at the start of an operative's activation. So you can go, I'm playing the ancestors are watching. Are you going to absolute authority it? And they have to go yes or no. If they go no, you play out as normal. If they go yes, you just activate as normal. But it's still a horrible matchup just because of how badly balanced Inquisitorial Agents are. It's not great. Vet Guards, once again, just because they outnumber you, and if they don't bunch up, which they shouldn't, it becomes very hard to play against. Blooded, for the same reason as Vet Guard, although it's a more melee deadly operative, like Kill Team, that can oddly just mess you up. Chaos Cult, once again, 15 operatives, way too much. And once they get into combat with you, it's effectively game over. Like the Torments can really easily double fight stuff, like double charge and fight 2 operatives. So it's just a really horrible matchup. Felgor is oddly really, really horrible, because Felgor Ravager, just because you have to kill them twice, you can be in this weird situation where even though you proc crits, as long as they've got that stupid gong up, no matter how many grudge tokens you have, they won't die to shooting, and they just get too close to you, and it's a horrible, horrible matchup. Then you've got Elucidian Starstrider. So the reason this matchup is horrible is just because the Elucidians can quickly take you apart. They have multiple ways to group activate to get like multiple strikes. They have great melee, and annoyingly, the spaceship doesn't get grudge tokens. I mean, you can symbolically give it grudge tokens, but they can start killing your key operatives with the spaceship and not get any like grudge tokens back. So you can be in this weird scenario where they're using the spaceship to kill your key operatives, and you're like, wow, I want to kill that guy, but I literally can't put any grudge tokens on because you killed me with your spaceship. It's so annoying. And then Galapox, once again, they're a big horde. If the Hulks generally won't get shot until they get close to you. And with that 5-up Feel No Pain, until they've got a lot of grudge tokens on, they're going to shrug off most of that damage, even with the grudge tokens as well. But these are just the horrible bad matchups at the moment. Really, really rough. I think, you know, you could kind of live with Star Striders, but like it's just a horrible mix of effectively quite popular teams. Other than that, when you're not playing to these teams, it's great. I really love playing into Hierotech, but also you just destroy elites. So yeah. So for key matchup tricks, punishing people with excavation tools, as I've already covered. Remember, you can use your barricades to move through freely while your opponent can't, and you can block off parts of the board. Really great on Beta Decima, because you can like put it on gantries that makes it effectively impossible for your opponent to dash jump. It's really, really good. Using the high-las Rotarian boards that provide a lot of obscuring shots. So, for example, on Into the Dark and on Beta Decima, because that gun is 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, 3/5, ceaseless heavy fusillade, and ignoring obscuring. Remember, it is heavy, so you can't use it with the ancestors are watching to like move 8 inches and shoot, because it's still a heavy weapon. Then you've got the Locator into Commandos, Pathfinders, and Phobos, also great on Beta Decima and Into the Dark, because remember, on Into the Dark, most people pick the Scout forward move, but remember, these are the F4 deploys it stops. Also stops grav shoots. It stops the Chaos Cult strategic phase dash as equipment. Really, really good, especially on Beta Decima, because a lot of people want to recon dash up onto the platform. Stopping that is incredibly punishing, but you just have to know when to use the Locator. The Medic versus most opponents obviously excels in shooting matches because it's a medic. Also great for melee, you know, as my guide Alden told me. He's not the pharmacist, he's the harmacist. Yeah, that medic has a 3/5 pistol. It's a revolver, so someone on grudge tokens is going to be like effectively take 4-5 damage hits, and with the plasma knife inbuilt, you don't have to pay for the plasma knife. So late game, I have literally, with the ancestors are watching, had the medic charge someone, cut them up with the knife, and then execution shot their leader, who was a Cryptek, because it was just like, oh, you've got free grudge tokens, I've got 3 hits. Those are 3 crits, you failed them all. Now you take 15 damage. Like, the harm assist is a threat you need to respect. Then obviously the Dozer on Into the Dark, because, you know, the Dozer is useful in general, like he just needs more charge range, but the Dozer is really good at, especially on Into the Dark, safely charging people, pushing them off the points, but pushing them into other operatives that have activated or haven't activated to either set up blast attacks for like your missile launcher or line up more operatives. So when you get your plasma beamer off, to do a devastating Kamehameha of death. So the Dozer is great at that. Like, you can use the Dozer against like 28.5 and larger bases to block doors by like charging and punching people, and I can even like block off gantries for friendly enemy operatives. So he's really useful. You just have to remember that. Using climbing gear to harass on open boards, because remember, it means you can dash up onto vantage points and dash off them. So very, very important, especially with your slow movement, and allows you to almost like not pseudo fly, but quickly move around boards, especially when you're like with moving and dashing. And like, what a common trick I like to do is just like climbing gear off of vantage points to just quickly get into position. Very, very powerful. Then you've got plasma knives on key gunners for late game charge, fight, and shoot. As I said, especially like, it's more of a turning point 3 or 4 move where you have like 1 or 2 gunners who have plasma knives, so they can literally go, okay, the operatives has free grudge tokens, I'll charge, kill you into, and then shoot. I don't like putting on all the gunners or always aiming for it, but it's a nice option to have, right? It's a nice fleck piece. You can use Rampart to also make drop zones and barricades safe. So remember, for a CP, you can either get another barricade or pick one piece of light terrain within blue of your drop zone to make it heavy. So you can make it the terrain on top of a vantage point, a barricade, or a big light wall in a drop zone. So a lot of unsafe drop zones suddenly become very safe for you. And it really throws people off, especially even when you tell them and like, oh, you put all those people behind the light barricade. And you're like, yes, now in the strategic phase, I'm going to spend a CP to make that heavy and be safe. So it's very important, especially in matchups like Pathfinders who can't play around heavy cover if you're hiding behind it. So it's very important to remember that. And then Hardy and Defense Order to shut down shooting alpha strikes. This tells into Pathfinder matchup. But effectively, if your opponent is going to threaten you with a first activation like attack with a shooting operative like a grenade, what you can do is put the Defense Order there because you have a free up save with a reroll, and then Hardy. So what Hardy does is if you're after your opponent has rolled their attack dice, let's say they roll 4 crits, you can spend a CP to downgrade all those crits to hits. They still trigger crit effects like mortal wounds and P1, but if they don't have any of that, they go like, oh cool, my frag grenade has just got 4 crits on your guy, and I was like, cool, I'll spend a CP, that's all normals, I save 3, I take 2 damage, right? It's situational, but with these two combined, you can suddenly surprisingly survive a large volume of shooting power. So playstyles, it's a defensive playstyle, effectively controlled. This is a control style kill team, and annoyingly, it's their best way to play. So you effectively move up cautiously, setting up pokes or first activation strikes for the next turning point. You have to grudge key enemy operatives, aiming to overwhelm certain operatives like gunners and stuff, or key operatives your opponent wants to alpha strike you with. You have to use proximate firepower from turning point 2 onwards. It's more reliable on Into the Dark because generally everyone's going to be a lot closer, so you can more reliably get those +1 ballistic seal shots off. But, because there's situations on turning point 2 on open boards and even on beta decima where you actually proximate firepower may only work for 1 or 2 attacks, and that may be worth it for you, but you also may decide, I'll hold off. But generally, you kind of want to have enough CP for proximate firepower once per turning point. You need to avoid one-to-one trades if possible. You need to go ahead in activations. And what I mean by this is like, there's no point moving and dashing 8 inches to shoot someone if all it's going to do is just make that you lose the operative in return. You want to get stuff like move, shoot, dash away, or getting obscuring shots on people. You want to set up abilities where you go ahead in activations, because the moment you go ahead in activations, you can very quickly take control of the matchup and be more aggressive. So once you're ahead in that way, sure, you can play recklessly. But when you're trying, where you even activations like against another 10 operative team, or they out-activate you, you have to play more cautiously. And it's a very rigid way to play. So a lot of people don't like it and don't understand how to play it, because they go like, oh, I can just like laugh off all this shooting attack, like all this damage from my opponent, but you can't. 8 wounds is deceptively tough with that free up save, but it's not the best. Like, you can oddly survive shootouts, but you don't want to rely on it, and you kind of have to play in this quite defensive way. You're not fully playing defensively. You still have like 1 to 2 operatives a turn that can go out and poke, and you can have operatives that bait. But ideally, you have to play in this way to either punish your opponent's mistakes, so they've left people open for an angle of shooting, or stuff where you can just safely take them out. Obviously, like your Grenadier is great doing an alpha strike turning point 2, like first activation, because of his grenades. He can hit a lot of people, so that's kind of an acceptable loss, and then he can take a lot of damage to go down. But you have to play quite rigidly. It takes a while to get used to, but the more you play that way, instead of just going, oh, I need to push up offensively, you need to like aim to always tie on the primary. You never want to go more than 1 turning point 4-2 behind. So like, if you can just maintain that 3-point lead, you can then control the tac ops, because you're quite likely to go ahead on the tac ops. It's a very difficult way to play, but once you get used to it, it can be very powerful. So for the Hearthkyn Salvager Guide overview, remember they are the Leagues of Votann in Kill Team. They are a very rigid kill team, even with their 8 wounds and a free up save and effectively 5 inches of movement when normal moving. They can be surprisingly mobile in bursts, but they are still slow, so you have to like try and keep everyone within a range of bubble of support. You need to allocate your grudge tokens effectively, and remember that you get more effective towards the end of the game. So if you're going into turning point 3 and onwards with like 7 to 8 operatives, that's very good for you, because it means you're pumping out a lot of grudge tokens, and you're now in a position where your key operatives are basically turning all their hits into crits against stuff you want to kill. They're also quite rigid and have to play defensively, and they have a lot of tools. So what you need to do is research a lot about this kill team and read up on all their rules. So you need to know effectively when you place your attack order, when you place your grudge tokens, what spread of operatives to take, because I've written down all the operative combinations I take, when to go ions, when to go bolt guns, what special weapons to take against different opponents, what to do on Into the Dark, because the dozer is going to be more useful, stuff like that. Remember, like, the good thing is you just destroy elites. Elites are great, you just mess up elites. But when you're playing into teams that are 10 or more activations, you need to ensure you're going ahead in trades. So you're not making 1-for-1 trades, you're making attacks where you're going to go ahead in activations. Very important. And remember, you can make drop zones quite safe. You're really good at movement blocking using barricades that you can move through for free with excavation tools. You can flex into melee with your plasma knives. You've got like probably some of the best shooting in Kill Team once you've got proximate firepower up. The Ancestors Are Watching allows you to be super flexible. You can apply a lot of pressure with the Jump Pack Warrior. You've got a lot of great tools, but you have to respect your 5-inch movement because it can be a huge hinder. But you need to remember also that 10-inch golden range. So as long as you're within 10 inches of someone, you can move and dash and shoot them, which, you know, that's why I call like the gunners the melee gunners, because it's like they move and dash and then punch you with their guns by just shooting you point blank. And remember, this is more of a mid-range team, so they excel while fighting opponents within red, but they oddly suffer when not shooting within that golden sweet spot range. But they're a fun kill team. They're tough to play, but once you get a hold of them, like, they are so rewarding. You have to play them in this like control spider web, just wait, and then pounce turning point 3 and 4 to overwhelm your opponent with grudges. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you like my how to win guide for Hearthkyn Salvager? Is there anything I missed? Anything you thought I should have touched upon? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free, and a affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support, and I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts with the crit, I have Tom, Sam, Nikki Sticks, Nick, Mr. Meatwad, Kenzie, John Thomas, Graham, David, Dad of Goldens, Ben, and then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sam. Just thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, this video got a bit delayed because of work, but I'm aiming to do at least 2 guides a month now. So let me know what you thought of this guide. Trying to be quite, it's weird. I'm trying to keep it short, but there's so much to cover with, especially the teams I'm going over. So I hope you like it. There's a lot more I want to do. Like, as I said on my podcast, I've already covered a lot of kill teams that I haven't covered here. I think it was like Commandos, Chaos Cult, Hyrotech Circle, but I'll cover them more later. But these are where I have the most fun because you know, PowerPoint, and I get to just share more of my in-depth tactics in a way that makes more sense. Because, you know, the reviews, I try to be as thorough as possible, but especially with these guides, using kill teams I've played and won with, hopefully it can reflect the tactics I've learnt so you can more better understand them and how different kill teams play differently and their different win conditions. So hopefully you enjoyed it. But remember, no matter how short you are, there's always a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.